Bo nie potrafimy stać obojętnie, bo obchodzi nas bezpieczeństwo i przyszłość naszych dzieci, bo wierzymy, że nadzieja zwycięża apatię, lęk i strach, bo mimo wszelkich przeciwności nigdy się nie poddajemy. Potrafimy ciężko pracować, wspierać się i działać razem, bo zależy nam na naszej ojczyźnie, naszym osiedlu, naszej ulicy, bo chcemy naszych niezbywalnych praw i wolności, bo nie oddamy naszych marzeń. Nadchodzi punkt zwrotny.
Dzień dobry Państwu. Jednym z elementów tego punktu zwrotnego.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that one of the elements of the turning point will be our panel. My name is Wojtek Maziarski. I'm a journalist with Gazeta Wyborcza. We've got great panelists here. I'd like to introduce them. Klaudia Jachira, a member of parliament from the Civic Coalition. Her two passions are theatre and politics. I think that politics is also kind of theatre, a kind of tragic comedy, perhaps with an emphasis of the prefix tragic. Piotr Szumlewicz, a philosopher, sociologist, journalist, head of the trade union Alternative, in the past OPZZ. I have the pleasure to publish his texts from time to time. I'm always interested to read them because his ideas are quite unpredictable as for a trade union leader. I remember one when he went against the prohibition of trade on Sundays. Alicja Defratyka, an economist, the author of the project Interesting Numbers, in light of what our economy is like, our budget deficits and so forth. I think the numbers are not only interesting but also dramatic. Bartosz Rydliński, a political scientist and academic teacher, a co-founder of the Ignacy Daszyński Center, member of the Aleksander Kwaśniewski Foundation. It's Amices Europe today. It takes a lot of courage to declare friendship for Europe, because increasingly often we hear that Europe is our enemy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The title of our panel, Do We Want to Work Longer? At the beginning, I'd like to suggest, okay, if you want to object, you can do that, of course. I think we all agree that the preservation, the maintenance of the current pension system without any changes, given the demographic trends and economic changes, means an impending catastrophe. We're following into an abyss. But what can we do about this? Over the years, any attempts to do something about it led to election loss, as it was 8 years ago when Civic Platform and PSL increased the pension age and they lost elections. So we need to do something about it, but what exactly? When we ask people, we get very different answers depending on how we formulate the question. In a Business Insider Poland poll, Polish people were asked whether they would like to work longer if they get a pension that's 400 zloty larger. 50% people said yes, for 23% yes, and against. Okay, sorry, 24% were against. So there was a large majority of people supporting. But when we ask the similar question during a political campaign, we get a resounding no. And that's why politicians really use this in politics, and that's why we're going to have a referendum with a question about this. Myself, I also conducted a study to check what people think about it, and indeed a lot depends on how you ask the question. In 2022, I used the Ariadna panel on my website, and I asked a question, which answer is closer to your opinion? So 54%, more than half of people would rather continue work after reaching retirement age to get a higher pension the same month. WP used the same panel without adding that you get a greater pension, and they got the opposite results, because 62% of people would like to retire immediately. Only 34% would like to continue working. So the difference, 16 percentage points. Law and Justice Party introduced this question into the referendum without this information that a lower retirement age implies lower pensions. Also, we've got calculations from the ZUS insurance system that the mean pension is lower by several hundred zlotys, even by up to 1,000 zlotys for women. And now, do you realize the gap between women's pensions and men's pensions in percentage points? About 30%. It's a huge difference. And the very fact that women have a lower retirement age, they get less money. But it's also related to the fact that their mean salaries are lower, and they also take a leave for raising children, but without informing people about the consequences, you can get very different answers. It's like asking people, would you like to be young, rich, and beautiful? Well, if you ask people, would you like to work shorter? Yes, sure, why not? But if you tell them, okay, but then you'll get very low pension, then, the answer will be very different. So this referendum question is very harmful in many dimensions, and the whole campaign providing this argument of work until almost death. So they suggest people that 67 years is death, because if we are to increase the effective retirement age, let's say encourage people to stay on the work market for a longer time, if you scare people and tell them that it's 2 years, in the case of men is death, then it's very, very dangerous in many dimensions.
Protestowałem.
Yes, I can hear Klaudia Jachira protesting, but I would like to give the floor to Bartosz Rydliński, who I know has numbers for us from his survey. Well, not only Alicja, but also our Daszyński Center has interesting data. In May this year, we published a report seconded by Friedrich Ebert Foundation. We carried out this survey together with Ibris, Katarzyna. There were three authors of this study, of this survey, and to our question that we asked at the beginning in the early 1923, should the retirement age be equal for men and women? 60 for 60 years, 60% of said yes. It should stay as it is, 30%, and only 2% for raising the retirement for both men and women to 67 years. And it's not only the problem of age, but it's also the problem of the pension or retirement scheme, because unlike other countries in the EU, in Poland we have the pension scheme which doesn't take into account any income that you get outside of regular employment. If you, for example, if you have a business and then you work based on a kind of terminal contract or short-term contract, you don't take it into account. In most countries in Europe, whether you have a full-time job or just a principal job that you have, or principal income, and then you get a short-term contract, you also pay to the pension scheme from that. And this year we have the best index, 85%. Of 1989. Well, I myself have a full-time job, and as a publisher, I have my business, and I don't have to pay the premium to the retirement scheme. I may, but I don't have to. I may choose. So the challenge is not just the getting the retirement benefit, but remember that there is a huge number of people in Poland. There is a whole generation of Poles, and I'm included in it, who but you don't see it in the data. So these are and people like me have been working on short-term contracts only. And if you remember that people for 10, 12 years didn't pay any premium on their short-term job contracts, they will be lost for retirement purposes. Well, do you want to work longer? No, we work more than the Americans. I can see OECD data. An average Pole works 1,815 hours. That is more than American, and only 3 countries. But wait. Let's make it right. So, average Pole. This is how many hours an average Pole works, but they don't want to work more. In this sense, we are speaking about the retirement age. Well, we work more than the United States, that the rest of the EU, and then Germany. So we are speaking about shortening the working week. Yes, if you look at the health condition of Polish, at the situation of Polish workers, they work 2.5% longer after the pandemic. We, New Zealand and Latvia, work more than it was before the pandemic. I must admit, I work much more than 8 hours a day, and I don't want to work shorter because then I get bored. Well, of course, there are different attitudes. Well, you protested. Well, when I heard that everyone was, of course, if you ask a question, do we want to be beautiful and rich? Well, this is a very individual matter, but I think that the key thing asked by the moderator is, do we want, or do we have to? And as a politician, to me, in many cases, and not only when discussing the working environment, how much we should work, how long, more or less, I think that we should encourage people and use the word want, not have to. So because I think that the mistake was that we wanted to force people to work longer, and that allowed the populists and also the law and justice to scare people with work in the forthcoming referendum, because also how work is perceived in our cultural context. I think that we should stop thinking of work as a kind of punishment, as something bad for us, because that diversifies the discourse and lets the populists scare us with work. Well, the lack of work is bad. Well, we are not scaring people with being unemployed, but with being employed. And that's very bad. I can see the origins of this thinking in the Catholic culture, completely different from the Protestant culture. In the Protestant culture, you praise God when you work, and you praise God with your work. While in the Catholic culture, this is a kind of cross that you carry. But see how wrong this thinking is. Or it's well, if this were the case, the suffragists, they would be empowered by that, and they would get social, that would advance on the social ladder, because I'm the last person who'd like to force anyone to work. There are people to whom work is a burden, and they are counting the days until the day of retirement, and they want to retire, they should do it. But if we show benefits of working longer through the tax system, through increasing the tax-free amount, offering better benefits after retirement, and of course offering support, if we make sure that even after reaching the retirement age, people will be able to continue working, because that's very important. Well, here we are discussing whether we want to work longer and what retirement age we should have. But on the other hand, we know that people, when they retire, often informally, they are pushed out of their labor market, because they say, well, go away, leave this your job for the younger generation. So I think that we should take a broader perspective, and we shouldn't get manipulated by understanding that the work is something bad and unpleasant. Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take notes of what you want to reply to or respond to? Because I will give the floor to you, but I want all of you to take the floor. So, Mr. Szumlewicz.
I'm trying to be fair and concrete. I support the equal age, equal retirement age of men and women. I think that this difference is unconstitutional, pushing women out of the labor market. Of course, we need to change the social life to equalize the situation of women and men in all areas of life. Okay, I just checked the data, what this looks like in Europe. This difference between women and men, it's a legacy from communism. It's Romania, Hungary, the Czech Republic in Western Europe. Only in Austria and Switzerland, those ages are different. Only in Poland, Belarus, and Russia, the retirement ages are never equated. In all others, there may be differences, but by the end of the day, they become equal. So I'd like to tell you, quote some data. Since 1990, men now live longer by 8 years and women by 7 years. Now, a 60-year-old person lives on average 20 years, and a 60-year-old woman 24 years. So it's not about working till death. Now, this referendum is a cheat because, as a matter of fact, when the PO stopped ruling, actually the real age increased. So I think that even now, men and women work longer than retirement age. No, and the Law and Justice Party conducts its policy in such a way that it doesn't hold anymore. Another important indicator of the past 10 years, we've got 300,000 more people working while retired. The average age is 67 years old. A lot of people work while over 70 years of age. Now, my poll, OLX and Mice and Roses, and we asked the people 4 years to retirement age, 70% of them want to continue working. So 70% of them want to extend retirement age, and against 20%. Now, I am more like a Scandinavian, as now the civic platform idea to extend retirement age and remove bridge pensions. They said, okay, people will be healthier, environment will be better, they will eliminate the bad conditions at work. That was the whole point of these bridge pensions, but the civic platform never implemented that, and the Law and Justice just passed over it. Okay, let them die young, like minors, and but they will have a higher pensions. So, in my opinion, we need to improve the quality of workplace health, and so our work, the work of people, of foreigners who work here, we should be able to have satisfaction of work. And it's a Scandinavian model, where in Scandinavia trade unions did not oppose increased retirement age, because they made sure that they've got better occupational health and safety. So they were able to work longer. I do believe that our objective should be to activate citizens and introduce flexible solutions, like in Sweden. I like it in that respect. After you're 60, in consultation with the local insurance company, for example, we consult a doctor, we can shorten a week of work to 30 or 20 hours. When you ask Polish people what the legal retirement age should be, they say 18, because according to the Polish system, we can still work. So it's best to retire at 18, because then we can get a pension and still work at will. It's a very provocative postulate, I must say. It's quite logical. I can see that Alicja Defratyka was taking notes while the others were speaking. So now your response. Now, Piotr used quite a lot of my interesting numbers, so I'm not going to flood you with many more of them, but the fact is that Polish women at 60, with Austria, they have a lowest retirement age, together with Austria, in the entire European Union. Now, in Poland, the real retirement age is higher among women, which signifies that women either want or have to work longer. We also have data saying how many retirees continue working. So we reach retirement age, but we can still continue working. And there are more than 800,000 people like that. But you say, okay, there are many more pensioners, so this number has not increased proportionately, but it has. In 2015, right now every seventh pensioner works. In 2015, every ninth pensioner. So more and more pensioners work. So we should actually conduct a study and ask pensioners whether they work because they have to or they want to, because some of them just continue work because they like it. Many people like their work, and I do agree with Klaudia that this demonizing of work is inappropriate, and we should strive for a situation where we take into account automation, technological change, and so we can find a good work. Because if someone does what they like, they don't feel it is work, but they feel it is a kind of vocation for them. Okay, who likes their work? So more people like their work. Yes, I'm at work right now. If you work even when you're 60, okay, we live longer and longer than 20 or 25 years ago. Now at 60, it's not the same as 30 or 40 years ago. If you perhaps remember a 40-year-old person 30 or 40-year-old ago, it was something quite different than today. So it would be a great pity for some people to stop at 60. If they're still full of vigor and health, I think many people will want to continue work, absolutely. So, in my opinion, we should strive for building a positive image of work and changes in the labor market so that we could find a job that is not a coercion for us, or that is not difficult for us, but it's beneficial for us, for the economy, because people who like their work are more creative, which translates into economic development of the country. Now, speaking to your countries, it is not only important how many hours you work, stay at work, but also work productivity. We can stay until midnight and say, okay, we worked for a long time, but actually what is important is our productivity. You know that joke when somebody runs around with an empty wheelbarrow because I have so much work, I didn't have the time to fill it with material. So it's not an issue of how long we work, but how productive we are. And that's speaking to data from the United States. We are less productive than Americans. That is important. We should indeed introduce tax incentives for people to stay longer in the market. And speaking about pushing women out of the labor market, as Klaudia said, we no longer kind of try to scare people with unemployment, but with work. The unemployment is so low. We have more than 1 million people from abroad working here, and unemployment is still low. So we need hands for work. So there's less and less of pushing people out of the market, and employers keep people. They don't want to lay off people as easily as in the past, because once they lose older workers, it may be difficult for them to find new ones.
Yes, we will come back to the pushing out from the labor market and the preference given to younger employees over the retirement age employees. But Klaudia Jachira, well, I'd like to underscore once again, because we heard it, we were speaking about the different age for retirement age for men and women. I think this is discrimination, and it's against women, and that comes from strong patriarchal attitudes in our country. And in the case of Poland, this is a clear attribution of care functions to women. So this retirement age is differentiated because these women should get out of the labor market to take care of their care duties at home. This is how right-wing governments think. They want to get women out of the labor market because they should look after their grandchildren. Women should have a choice. If they want to, they should do it. But a 60-year-old is not there to spend time with her grandchildren. Of course, she can do it. She has the full right to do that, but she also has the right to have her own accomplishments and to be happy, to be satisfied at the age of 60, 70, 80 or even more years to decide about her life, instead of feeling that she's obliged to do something, that she's obliged by the state. And discrimination takes different forms and at different levels with this differentiation in the retirement age, because women, because of this difference, are less attractive as potential customers of mortgage loans, because of course I know many of my colleagues can have credit worthiness lower by 200,000 zloty, even if their salaries are the same as the male salaries, but because of the retirement age. So they, so a single woman and a single man have completely different credit worthiness, and I totally disagree with that. And I wanted to stress it. Bartosz Rydliński. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was looking at your hands going up, interesting numbers, but I think that you represent the middle class. Yes, I also represent middle class, but if we ask my colleagues and friends from the Trade Union Forum or from the All Poland Trade Union Alliance, I'm not sure that they would tell me that they like their jobs because they work for the minimum wage. So they don't like their wages rather than their work. No, but they have to pay their bills. They have to eat something. So who was there? People from the Social Security, people from the postal services, university administration. Do you know how much an assistant at a public university makes after the increase in salaries with the Master of Arts title? They make 5 zloty more than the minimum salary. I'm not sure that they are satisfied with their work and with their jobs because they make peanuts. I agree with MP Jachira. People want to work, from the age group 40, 54 years. I don't want to work and die at my workplace, but I wanted to be in touch with people, to stay on the surface, not to be pushed out to the margins of life. And I want my mental health to be with me. Retired people should be respected, and they are not in Poland. So I'd love people to have to be encouraged to work longer. But of course, but ladies and gentlemen, if somebody is works at the railways, if they have to defrost or take snow away from the rails, don't make them work until their 70s, because it's physically difficult, and this is our life and health that depends on them. Not everybody has difficult physical hard work. Yes, but it's Piotr Szumlewicz told about this differentiation according to the health status. Well, I disagree. I have different conflicts with the Forum or with the All Poland Trade Unions Alliance, because they were collecting signatures under their proposal for this for retirement, that would the retirement entitlement after working a certain years, 38 for women and 42 for men. When we get retired, the social security system, they take the money that has been accumulated on our account, and then they divide it by the theoretical number of months that the person will survive. And women live longer, so this is another level of discrimination. But let's take these two things apart. The working time. This is a very good act. Well, the reduction of working time, gradual reduction, 38, 35. This is the Western trend. But in the West, on the other hand, they invested a lot in the improvement of health conditions, working health conditions, to offer breaks to people if people have stressful jobs, or we are doing away with mining because not only because it deteriorates the quality of our environment, but also for the people, because it kills people. Mining is harmful to the state and to miners. But if you say to miners, they may disagree. But there is just transition. Well, we should do it relatively quickly. And I'd like to remind you, in 1999, it was a bad solution. We put in place a system that my retirement benefit depends on how much I pay into the system. And some sectors like judiciary, mining, the church are excluded from it. And the more groups are excluded and the earlier they retire, the more we have to pay for them. And I believe that if somebody works hard and lives shorter, in the trade union alternative, I make an average salary for the country, and I'm ready to pay more to the system to redistribute it. But people don't want to pay higher taxes. If you don't want to pay higher taxes, then don't think of higher retirement, and that's used by the Law and Justice. We will never reduce the retirement age. Never. We will never increase the retirement age. I'm sorry. Never. And if we live until 100, so what? Germans who stopped the retirement age and they didn't increase it over 3 years, and they made huge investment in healthcare, in assistance to people with disabilities, and after these 3 years they increased the retirement age, and it was very much approved. So politicians, be more ambitious. But I will tell you about the work until death. Bartosz quoted a statement that somebody didn't want to work until they die. So this is this message that is replicated by the Law and Justice. So people have already encoded it in their heads. So we have to unveil this myth, because you see at what it leads to. And another mistake that we are making, these are retirements for 30 years of working and for women and 43 for men. These retirement benefits will be even lower, and since 2015 the lowest retirement benefits, lower than the minimum retirement benefit paid to women who worked for 20 years and men 25 years. This number of the lowest retirement benefits is increased, and it accounts for 25%, and 90% of these lowest retirement benefits are drawn by women, and this population will increase. We are an aging society, and we are aging very fast in Poland, at the highest rate, one of the highest rates in Europe. And about interesting numbers, in 2007 we had more young people entering the labor market than people aged 60 plus. Right now, people aged 60 plus are they outnumber this young group by the factor of 2. So how many people have to work for these retirements of over 9 million people who have retired? And in the years to come, this will be the statistics will be even worse. So this replacement rate, that is the relation between the average retirement benefit and average salary. If there are people younger than 30 here in the audience, your retirement benefit will account for around 20% of your last salary. So you will not be able to survive on that. So we need a mental change. Before you introduce any changes, you have to prepare people. I agree that the healthcare should improve, and also automation and technology, which will make us change our jobs. But speaking about Germany, they didn't increase their retirement age rapidly, but they are contemplating currently linking the retirement age with the average length of life, of lifespan. They had a discussion, and they decided that if the lifespan expands, then the retirement age increases by several months. That's what the Netherlands did, Portugal, Finland, Denmark, Estonia. And in Poland, we should make a regional differentiation, because average age in certain economically lagging behind regions is lower.
Też się różni.
I think that there are differences in other countries as well, but I believe that in the coming years, no one can increase retirement age. You said that we force people to do that. No, it won't happen in the near future, but in the long-term perspective, and say next term of parliament, and once we stay in the tail of Europe with the lowest retirement age for women, so Austria perhaps will change their legislation. So we'll need to have this discussion, and I think there need to be mental changes, changes in the narration about work, and so on and so forth. Once I learned that I was going to be in Alicja on the panel, I must say Alicja is right on one point. So right now the replacement rate is about 40%. In 2060 it's going to be 25%. That is the ratio of current of your current earnings versus your pension. With Piotr Szumlewicz, when the pension age was increased, we held a conference in the parliament during the term of Jerzy Buzek, and we criticized our Polish pension system, and 67% of people, they want to return to the old system, which was length of work times the amount of their earnings on certain years. So that should determine the magnitude of our pension. So really most people have an egalitarian attitude. Okay, you need to use a microphone to ask a question. Now, let's say 8 minutes by the end of the debate. I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. We'll have about 3 minutes. So the pension reform of Jerzy Buzek failed for different reasons, and we can see that Polish people didn't like it. I've got 100 concretes from the civic platform, and no political party offers or proposes to increase a pension age. Okay. Now I feel urged to respond. Yes, indeed. I was talking about incentives. I think everybody can offer this. No. I think we should be honest to our voters and increase the pension age. It's not like the state should define the magnitude of your pension. Okay, they believe the more you pay in, the more you get out. And in this system, people get very low pensions. No. Politicians should be honest. It's like PiS introduced 500 plus. I would reduce it to 300 plus or 200 plus and introduce earning criterion. If I'm a social democrat, I suppose we must reduce radically expenditure on financial benefits and increase expenditure on social services, especially the health service, so that people could work longer, and the state should do something about it rather than cheat people. Okay, you have a choice. You don't have any choice if you're going to get pensions that are below sustenance level. So let's leave this hoax behind and let's equalize pension ages. And up to 2040, let's say, we could increase pension age if we improve the health status of Polish people and if we take care of the environment. But then we need to prioritize public services and health rather than just distributing money to people and buying votes. And indeed, the health service was more important during the coronavirus pandemic rather than 13th and 14th pension. I cannot see very clearly. I can see 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Probably we won't be able to address all of them. Okay, that was the first person here. Please speak to a mic and ask short questions. I wanted to say, okay, everybody would like to make more money and be young and beautiful, but how can you finance it? This current system is quite fair, because you put in some money, then it is divided by the number of years of life predicted, so it's rather predictable. I'd like to touch on I'd like to ask a question. Now we have this minimum pension, which is guaranteed for every person that meets certain conditions, irrespective of the amount of capital collected. Now, if somebody does not get enough capital, that does not lead to minimum pension, then we subsidize such a person. And so, can we change it? Can we afford it at a lower retirement age to subsidize every person who falls below the capital? I can answer that question. Well, can we afford it? Now, if in Poland you don't have any means to support yourself, the state is obligated to help such people, so it doesn't really matter how. So you need to do everything to increase work activity, to encourage people to delay retirement. And I'm ready to pay higher taxes. Is a minimum pension up to 1,400 zlotys a month should be given to each citizen, irrespective of how long they worked. Yes, 53%, no, 47%. Now, this question suggests an answer. It's not a good question. Now, referring the first question, a lot depends on how you ask the question. So that's the key to success. So the question is, would people like to get money irrespective of anything? Yes. Yes. Okay. The shorter the question, the more we could answer. Andrzej Żółkowski. Okay, I want to talk about the person who's going to clear snow from railroad tracks. So the problem is that there is nobody younger who would do the job. And secondly, a shorter work week in all work groups, nurses, doctors, teachers. How is it possible, especially that we are lacking employees? Thank you for bringing up this subject. I asked people working on the railroad about this, and it's not only about money, but also the dignity of workers. Now we live in a city, an old workers' city, and many people do not work in a dignified way. And we should really appreciate essential workers. Those who work on railroad tracks. Yes, I am for shortening work weeks. Of course, there are shortages of workers in certain sectors, so we need to correlate changes with other sectors. So, let's say the state do something to increase the number of nurses and doctors. So we should invite migrants.
Yes, I absolutely believe that equal doesn't mean just, and I'm afraid that we'll be telling everybody to follow the same format. I'm not sure that working 16 hours a day means that the work is effective. We heard that the work should be effective and it should make people work more efficiently and also with pleasure or satisfaction. So I understand that when we work 16 hours, when we debate in the parliament, I'm not the best MP then. I worked much more. I did my duties much better when we worked for 8 hours. The fact that through the last term of the parliament, we produced the record number of doubtful acts. I'm sorry, of course, it's often hard to compare it to physical work, but work depends on the sector, industry, job, and I'm absolutely in favor of flexible approach. The more flexible we are when it comes to employment, the better and nicer the work will be. And employers together with employees should work out the best model for them company. Yes, I can see here we have, and here, and I'm afraid we will not be able to give you to ask more questions. I'd like to ask Klaudia Jachira. I'd like to ask you, what's your offer when it comes to the simplification of the Act on Social Security benefits, because it's very comprehensive and complex. Well, this is mainly the question to my colleagues who work in different parliamentary committees. I'm not only in favor of simplifying the act on our social security service, but I think that I believe we have a lot of acts where there are solutions that are incomprehensible to many people, and they should be simplified, and we have it on our agenda. We want to simplify and streamline regulations, legal regulations, also tax rules. The next question. My name is Barbara. I have a general question. Do you know how many people in Poland draw pension, disability pension? Because throughout, when our social insurance premiums are paid, a fraction of it goes for the disability pensions. This, of course, the premium that we pay to the social security system is then, of course, divided into different lines, and not much of it goes to our retirement benefit. Well, currently, everybody pays for herself or himself, and if I don't use my retirement, who is going to benefit of it? My premium, my retirement premium, will it be passed on to other people? What happens to this money if people die prematurely, or they don't live until they draw benefits? I'm not sure whether anyone could answer this question. Yeah, because we are speaking about very generally, but I'm speaking of the proportion that goes for the retirement, and we pay a lot. Yes? No, I'm sorry. One remark. What you are suggesting, that if disability pensioners are fewer than people who are retired, well, we have to pay to disfavored groups who suffered from different problems in their lives, and they don't have to be blamed for the condition. If an employer and an employee discusses the number of working hours, and they negotiated